Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope everybody's doing all right. This week, let me just briefly go through what we're doing this week in our lecture part of the course. Gonna have us week 5 right here. We're gonna go through the skeleton. We're gonna go and tackle joints and skeleton. The first part is on the axial skeleton. If we go through the different parts of the movies down here, we can see we're going through the joints first, the types of joints, and then we're going into the vertebral column types of joints, and we have multiple types of joints. We have like the skull has bones that jagged together. Those are actually joints. We even have in the hip bone, we have joints that look like one bone, but they're ossified. They grow together, and so technically speaking, they're still joints. So we're having a description of all the different types of joints in here. And then we tackle the normal, so to speak, joint that we consider a joint, like the stuff that moves around a little bit more in detail. And then from there, we go into a little joint mechanics. What is what called, raising the arm, lowering the arm, bending the elbow, has these different flexion extension type terms. And so we'll go a little bit more into that. And then from there, we go into the skeletal system. We start with the trunk part. We did the skull. That's sort of separate. But then we start now with the trunk part, the axial skeleton, which is the spinal cord and the rib cage, and then down into the coccyx as well. And then from the vertebral column, we go into the specifics of the vertebra. We go into the unique features that are in the different parts of the columns. The lower lumbar bones are much bigger than the upper bones, the neck bones. And so that kind of features we look at it a little bit differently. And then we finish up with the sacrum and the coccyx, which are down here below the tips, the tailbone, and the tips of the spinal column, and the rib cage, which are the ribs that then inside them are the lungs and the heart sort of protected through them. And the rib cage is important as we breathe, because the breathing goes by expanding on the rib cage. The lungs inflate passively, so to speak, that way. So that's the first part. And then the second part is we going into the appendicular skeleton, and that's the arms and the legs. And so we're going to have us arms and legs, bone stuff, upper extremity. We talk shoulder girdle. Then we go into the arm, the forearm, the wrist, and the hand. And lower extremity, very similar, just below the thigh bone. And then we have the leg, the tibia and the fibula. Forearm and leg both have 2 bones. And then the ankle is fairly similar to the wrist, and the foot to the hand. Of course, not quite, but has lots of similarities. So we're going to talk about those, and then we integrate the lecture material with questions like we always do down in here. And then also we have labeling activities. You've seen those now with the skull already a little bit. We're going to have some questions associated with them also, so make sure you answer those as well. They just help integrate the material. And then this week we're going to do as a health office ergonomic evaluation. So if we talk skeletal system, we're talking muscles and bones. We talk very fast gravity, and gravity goes down. And then however we sit, however we move posturally in the world, then that has an impact long term. And so I thought this was a good time to talk about a few of those things. So I have some biomechanics stuff, some good tips, and then I want you to evaluate your own workstation. And then I have a few balancing stretches that I go through. And then I believe you pick 1 or 2 down here at the bottom. See, I've got a whole bunch of them, but then you have each section has questions associated with it that you answer. And then at the end, you pick at least one stretch that you do on the hour for 5 days, and sort of get an understanding of an impact of that, if that has or not, to you. And then we can talk about it. And we'll do that then in a discussion the following week, where we just briefly touch on how the situation was and what did you learn, and is there any take-home points. This activity, all the activity that has a component of doing something for 5 days, or so, it's always 5 days, because you need your weekend. Those are 2 weeks out. So you see here it says the 23rd. So don't make sure you look at them this week. That's why they are in this week's material, because it takes you 5 days to implement doing the activity. So make sure you. So that's why it's 2 weeks. In case somebody looks at the weekend, the first weekend, the 16th, then I give you extra time. But don't wait till the 23rd. So that's for that. And then lab, of course, you'll do in the classroom, and then we finish up with the tips and the Padlet at the end. And so that's, I think, it for this week on my end. And then next week we start working on the muscles. And so it's to me, that's very exciting stuff. I like that stuff, of course, as a massage therapist, chiropractic kind of guy. But if you have any questions, just send me a pronto. I try to get to you as quickly as I can with those. And that's all right. Have a good week. Take care. Bye-bye.